Ray Dalio founded the largest hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, which now oversees about $160 billion. Dalio now sees another downturn on the horizon that could be more severe than the debt crisis of 2008. Dalio was one of the few investors able to anticipate and successfully invest through the 2008 financial crisis. He is now sharing his knowledge that guided him through the crisis in a new book. It's a free book called A Template for Understanding Big Debt Crises. Leading up to the 2008 crisis, the red flags that Bridgewater Associates identified revolved around debt. Dalio said, "The way I look at it, it's like a disease. It's like a process that happens over and over again." So let's take a look. In a recent interview with CNBC, Dalio explained, "We had calculated that a number of the entities would not be able to pay back their debt. When there's a certain rate of debt growth that is unsustainable, and that there is going to be a problem paying it back, and you do the calculations, you could see that you have a problem." In his new book, he talks about the 6 stages of a debt cycle, which include the early part of the cycle, the bubble, the top, the depression, the beautiful deleveraging, and pushing on a string, normalization. According to Dalio, the early part of the debt cycle is the great part because the debt growth is being used to finance activities that lead to fast income growth. This is what's known as the Goldilocks period. Next is the bubble stage, when debt rises faster than the incomes, and everybody is extrapolating that because it happened in the past and because those assets went up, they're going to continue to go up. In the bubble phase, borrowers feel rich and they spend much more and buy assets using leverage. The top of the cycle is usually triggered by central bank tightening and a rise in interest rates. Dalio further stated, "So as we take a look at what we are approaching more of the top of the cycle, I don't think we're there yet. I think we're in the seventh inning. When you have that tightening and then you have the turn down and what I'll call the depression phase, that depression phase happens because you hit 0% interest rates and because they're less effective in monetary policy. That's why 2008 was like what 1930 was, and so that's the depression phase." Using a baseball metaphor, Dalio believes we are in the seventh inning. In other words, we are relatively late in this long-term debt cycle and the business cycle. According to Dalio, that doesn't mean imminent. I think there are 2 or 3 more years probably in this. I'm not sure for sure. He expects a downturn at some point, and one that will be more severe than in 2008. What's more, he believes policymakers may have a limited ability to combat it. Downturns always come. Recessions always come. And what we have is a situation in which the capacities of the central banks to reverse it are more limited because interest rates are close to zero, or at zero in Europe and Japan, and also the effectiveness of monetary policy is largely quantitative easing, and it is largely behind us because they have put that money in and those asset prices have already risen. So imagine today we have the best economy that we're going to get. The unemployment rate is low. The stock market is where it is. Asset prices are good. These are the times that are good. But we have this polarity. So if I'm looking at 2 or 3 years forward, that's the period that produces greater concern. So for today, that's Chew Dog Charts. Thank you.